I used to think the cruelest thing a family could do was ignore you. Turns out ignoring you is mercy compared to what happens when they finally see you and realize you're holding something they want. My name is Nora Quinn. For 10 years, I was the ghost at every holiday table, the punchline in the group chat, the cautionary tale my mother whispered to her friends over Chardonnay. Don't worry about your daughter. At least she's not like our Nora. I smiled through all of it. I nodded. I swallowed. And every single time they laughed at my $12 blouse, I quietly bought another share of an index fund. This is the story of the Easter Sunday when the mask came off, when the people who taught me shame discovered I turned it into $9 million, and when I finally learned the difference between family and people who just share your blood. You're still here because something in you recognizes the ache. That hollow space where love was supposed to live, but only judgment moved in.
Good. Hold on to that ache.
Because I'm about to show you what happens when you stop feeding it. Easter Sunday, 2025. Scottsdale, Arizona. The kind of heat that makes the devil sweat. I pulled my dusty silver Civic into the circular driveway at 9:47 a.m. and sat there for a full minute with the engine off, watching heat waves ripple off the hood like bad memories. My parents' house looked exactly the same as it had when I was 12. Too big, too white, too perfect. The kind of house that photographs beautifully and feels cold even when the thermostat says 78. I was wearing the blouse. Cream silk, tiny mother-of-pearl buttons, faint interlocking CCs hidden in the stitching along the inside collar. I found it 3 weeks earlier in a Goodwill on the wrong side of Tempe, buried under a pile of prom dresses and someone's old wedding gown. $12.37 after tax. I knew the second my fingers brushed the fabric that it was Chanel from the 90s. I never told a soul. I just wore it like armor. I walked in through the side door the way I always do. No one uses the front unless they're selling something. The kitchen smelled like vanilla candles and desperation. Elise was already there, perched on a bar stool in a coral dress that cost more than most people's car payments, scrolling through her phone and narrating her own highlight reel. "Look who decided to show up," she said without looking up. "I was starting to think you got lost on the way from your sad little apartment." She finally glanced over and did the slow, cruel sweep she'd perfected in high school. "Nora, seriously? That blouse looks like it died of loneliness in 1998. Mom drifted in from the dining room carrying a tray of champagne flutes, eyes already glassy from the first pour. "Oh, honey," she sighed, the way she'd sighed since I was 14 and refused to bleach my hair platinum like Elise. "The Beaumonts will be here any minute. Couldn't you have at least ironed something?" I smiled the smile I'd been practicing since middle school, lips closed, eyes empty. "It's vintage," I said. They heard excuse. They always did. Dad appeared in the doorway holding the newspaper like a shield. He looked at me, looked away, looked back again. "You driving that same car?" he asked, like he hadn't asked the same question every visit for 8 years. "Still runs perfect," I said. He grunted. Translation: disappointment. I excused myself to put my purse in the hall. Old habit from when we were kids, and Elise used to go through my things looking for secrets to weaponize. I set it on the console table next to the bowl of keys no one ever used because every car in the garage had push-button start. Brunch unfolded like a play I'd memorized. Elise holding court at the head of the table, voice bright and sharp, dropping half-truths about listings and commissions she hadn't closed yet. Mrs. Beaumont asking if I was still single with the same tone people used to ask if you're still sick. Mom introducing me like she was apologizing for the weather. Nora does something with numbers downtown. Very technical. I ate my quiche in silence and counted the seconds until I could leave. Halfway through dessert, I slipped away to the bathroom. When I came back, Elise was elbow deep in my purse. She didn't even jump when I caught her, just kept digging like she had a right. "Looking for gum," she lied, same as always. Her hand came up holding the wrong thing. One sheet of paper. My latest brokerage statement. I'd printed it yesterday after my advisor called to congratulate me on crossing 9.4. Meant to shred it. Forgot. She unfolded it slowly, like she was opening someone else's mail. I watched the numbers hit her eyes. $9,482,611.43. Her mouth opened.
Closed.
Opened again. Nora, she whispered. My name sounded foreign in her mouth. What the fuck is this? I didn't answer.
Couldn't. My heart was trying to punch its way out of my chest.
She turned and walked. No, marched into the dining room, statement held high like a battle standard. Everybody shut up for a second, she announced. Our little thrift store sister has been lying to us for 10 years. The room went so quiet I heard the ice melt in Mrs. Beaumont's glass. Mom reached for the paper first, hands trembling so hard, she dropped it twice before she could hold it steady. Dad leaned over her shoulder. I watched their faces cycle through the same three emotions: confusion, disbelief, hunger. Mom's voice cracked like thin ice. Baby, is this yours? I nodded once. Elise found her voice first, and when she did it was venom wrapped in velvet. She's got almost $10 million, she said, eyes shining with something that looked a lot like hate, and she lets us think. She's broke. She lets me pay for her birthday dinner. She lets Mom cry about her ancient car. She lets us feel sorry for her while she sits on a fortune. Every word landed like a slap, but I didn't flinch. I was done flinching. I never asked for your pity, I said. My voice didn't shake. I was proud of that. I just stopped correcting you when you gave it. Dad tried next, voice rough. Peanut, how long? Since I was 24, I said. Started with 15 grand I saved from internships and waiting tables.
Kept adding.
Kept living the way you all mocked. The market did the rest. Elise stepped closer, voice dropping to that syrupy tone she used on desperate buyers. Family helps family, Nora. Think about everything Mom and Dad sacrificed. Their mortgage is underwater. My business loan is choking me. We're drowning and you've been hiding a lifeboat. Mrs. Beaumont cleared her throat, suddenly fascinated by her napkin. Mr. Beaumont checked his watch 3 times in 10 seconds. I looked at my sister, really looked at her for maybe the first time in a decade. The sister who stole my college savings to buy a down payment on a condo she couldn't afford. The sister who told our cousins I was basically homeless because I didn't post vacation photos. The sister who, 30 minutes ago, called my blouse depressing while wearing a dress that cost more than most people's rent. You want me to fund the life you used to prove you were better than me, I said slowly. You want me to pay for the performance that made me feel small my entire life. I turned to my parents. Every month, for 3 years, I've sent you $500. Anonymous deposit into your retirement account. You thought it was some pension adjustment. That was me. That's what I was willing to give when you thought I had nothing. Mom made it sound like someone had punched her in the stomach. Dad just stared at the statement like it might disappear if he blinked. Elise's mask slipped all the way off. That's not enough, she hissed.
Not now.
Not when we know what you really have. There it was. The truth naked and ugly in the middle of the dining room table, right next to the uneaten lemon bars. I felt something inside me break, not with pain, but with the clean, sharp snap of clarity. The kind you only get when you finally see people for exactly who they are. I walked to the front door. Behind me Elise was still talking, something about lawsuits, about gratitude, about blood being thicker than water, about how selfish I was being. The words bounced off me like rain on a roof. I paused on the threshold, hand on the knob. The Arizona sun poured in, white and merciless, turning the marble floor into a mirror. You know what the worst part is? I said without turning around. I actually rehearsed this moment. For years. I imagined sitting you all down, showing you the accounts, watching your faces when you realized the daughter you pitted had lapped you all 10 times over. I thought it would feel like victory. I turned then, met every pair of eyes, Mom's wet and pleading, Dad's confused and old, Elise's glittering with rage and calculation. It doesn't feel like victory, I said. It just feels sad. Because the only thing that changed today is you finally saw my value and immediately tried to spend it. Mom took a step forward, arms out like she could still hug this away. Nora, please. I'm done. I said, and my voice was gentle because I wasn't angry anymore. I was free. I'm done being the version of me you were comfortable judging. And I'm absolutely done bankrolling the version of you that did the judging. I stepped outside. The door closed with a soft, final click that somehow sounded louder than any slam. I didn't cry until I was 10 miles away, pulled over on the side of the 101 with the AC blasting and the radio off. Then I cried for the little girl who used to hide in her bedroom, counting quarters while her sister got new clothes every season. I cried for every Christmas where I opened one gift and Elise opened 20. I cried for every time I swallowed their words and called it love. Then I dried my face, merged back into traffic, and drove north until the desert gave way to pine trees. 6 months later, I live in a loft in Denver with windows that face the Front Range. Same $12 blouse hangs in my closet next to pieces I actually love now. No tags, no audience, no performance. I started a foundation. We teach teenage girls from families like mine how to turn shame into equity, how to take the energy people waste tearing you down and convert it into compound interest that works while you sleep. We just awarded our 111th scholarship. Her name is Marisol. She's 17. She found a vintage Dior jacket at a thrift store for $18 and cried when she realized what it was. I cried harder. Elise tried everything. First came the rage texts at 3 a.m., calling me evil, selfish, a disgrace to the family name. Then the tearful voicemails about how much she'd always looked up to me and how I was tearing the family apart. Then the lawyer. That one lasted exactly 11 minutes. The attorney accidentally forwarded me the invoice for $100 to be told blood isn't a contract. Mom sends a single heart emoji on my birthday now. Nothing else. Dad hasn't spoken since Easter. I heard he sold his golf clubs to cover Elise's latest credit card minimum. The Beaumonts still bring up that insane Easter brunch at the country club like it's urban legend. Sometimes at night, I stand on my balcony and watch the city lights flicker below while the mountains turn purple with dusk. I think about the 9.4, now 9.8 something thanks to a boring little tech ETF nobody thought would run. I think about the girl I was shrinking smaller every year so they'd have room to feel big. And I think about the question that still keeps me awake. When the people who are supposed to love you without condition only love you when there's a condition attached, do you owe them forgiveness? Or do you owe yourself the peace they never gave you? I still don't have an answer. But I know this. I will never again buy love from people who only learned my worth when the price went up. If you've ever been the invisible one, the judged one, the one they laughed at until they needed something, I see you. Your choices aren't small just because they're quiet. Your life isn't sad just because it doesn't photograph well. And your value was never theirs to decide. Keep building in the dark. One day the light finds you. And when it does, you get to choose who's allowed to stand in it with you. I chose me. Now it's your turn. So tell me in the comments, could you walk away forever? Or would you open the door if they showed up tomorrow with nothing but sorry on their lips and hunger in their eyes? I read every single one. And if this story cracked something open in you, share it with someone who needs permission to protect what they built. None of us should have to pay for love we were supposed to get for free. See you in the next one. And remember, the richest thing you can ever do is refuse to let people who never saw you rent the space they suddenly want to live in. Walk away. The view from the other side is breathtaking.